All right, hello everyone. Eric Marks, findingmiddleearth.com, and today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite Fujinon lenses. Obviously, ever since I bought these Fujifilm cameras, I've got a lot of messages and emails about my favorite lens, my favorite camera settings, and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't really answer any of the favorite questions yet because I didn't think it was fair to do that since I was only like a week into owning the stuff. So now that I'm going on about 2.5 months of shooting with these Fujifilm cameras like every day, one of my go-to lenses, like probably my most used lens so far, is the Fujinon 55 to 200 3.5 to 4.8 lens. This lens is incredible. Not only is it extreme telephoto, being that on a crop sensor you basically get 300 millimeter equivalent out of it. So not only is it an extreme telephoto, it is so incredibly light for what you get. So 3.5 to 4.8 is a variable aperture, but it's not bad at all. I mean, not at all. So after using this lens, I almost wondered how in the world I was even considering the 50 to 140 2.8 Fuji. Now, the Fujinon 50 to 140 is a fantastic lens. It's a constant 2.8 lens. It's just as sharp, if not maybe a tad bit sharper than this one, which I don't, after seeing comparison images, I don't think it's any sharper than this one. But it definitely has the constant 2.8. The thing I didn't like about it was it's huge. It's almost as big as my Nikon 70 to 200 2.8. And it just felt very off balance with these Fuji bodies, even with a battery grip on here. The 55 to 200, it allows me to shoot telephoto much more often because it's just not a hassle to get it out of the bag. Every time that I would want to shoot telephoto when I was on my Nikon D810, I was always just like, man, I don't want to have to get the 70 to 200 out of the bag, put it on the camera, and then the tripod collar, I have to take the camera off the tripod, put the tripod collar on there to balance everything. And, that might sound really lazy because I did get it out quite often. But, when you're on location and you're just trying to wait for the light and you're trying to panic for the light, sometimes you're rushing, you don't want to have to go through all the extra stuff of getting this big heavy lens out, taking the camera off, putting it on, putting the tripod collar on the tripod. This lens is so incredibly light that, there's no stress on the lens mount at all. I can just put the camera right on the tripod. It's not going to break the mount off or unbalance the camera in any way. And I love the sharpness out of this lens. The best part about this lens is the OIS. It's unbelievable. The OIS on all the Fuji lenses are unbelievable, but the OIS on this lens particularly at the long end, I took this lens to Disney World and I was shooting some images of the Disney World parade. They do a parade like right before nightfall. And so I was getting, I think, 1/30th of a second on some of the parade photos, okay? And I was in continuous mode, and at 30th of a second, at 200 millimeters with the OIS on, my images were tack sharp. That just doesn't happen. That doesn't happen on my Nikon VR. Nikon VR, okay, which is vibration reduction, kind of the same thing as image stabilization, all the VR lenses are nowhere near, not even in the same planet of being as good as the OIS on Fuji. I'm just not used to it. Like I was so surprised. I was just, how in the world at a 30th of a second, it was almost like the camera had in-body image stabilization or something. So yeah, these lenses are fantastic. But I wanted to make this video because so many people have been asking me, Eric, what's your go-to lens, your favorite Fuji lens? Right now, my most used lens for just kind of everything is the 55 to 200. And I know that kind of sounds impractical because the widest end is 55 for a landscape photographer, but it's allowed me to do a lot more telephoto landscapes, kind of compressing mountain ranges and compressing the subjects in. And it's kind of changed my work a little bit to allow me to do things that are, a little bit outside of my comfort zone that I wouldn't normally do. And it's been giving me really good results. So I love having a light telephoto lens. That's really what it comes down to. And the fact that it's insanely sharp and also has OIS is just two bonuses. It's just the best telephoto lens I've ever used. I know that's a bold statement to make, but it's the best telephoto I've ever used. It's my favorite to use now. Because it's just so light, and I didn't have to lose anything, right? As a landscape photographer, I don't care about a constant 2.8 70 to 200. So I didn't have to make a compromise. Most people, when you go for a lighter weight something, you have to make a compromise. Maybe it's not as sharp, or maybe the edges are gross and blurry. With this one, it's tack sharp and it's light, and it has a very acceptable aperture range for me. 4.8 is not bad at all by any means, and it really doesn't hit 4.8 until like 135, 150 mil. So you still get 3.5 to f4, most of the range. Yeah, anyway, it's wonderful. So I just want to answer all of your questions instead of having to go back and search, a month ago when I got all these questions about the lenses. Now you guys know my most used lens right now in this moment is the 55 to 200. Obviously, I use the 10 to 24, 16 to 55, when I need to. I use all my lenses, but my most used lens right now is the 55 to 200, and it is a wonderful lens. So if you guys are outdoor photographer, landscape, wildlife, and you're looking at this one, trying to compare this to the 50 to 140, this one is unbelievably sharp, unbelievably awesome OIS, and so light that I think it's kind of a no-brainer to go with this one, unless maybe you're a wedding photographer or something and you want that 2.8 to get you the extra stop of light. But man, this is more than acceptable for me, and it works wonders. So yeah, so if you were trying to decide if this one's maybe going to be not as sharp or not as good of quality as the 50 to 140, it's nonsense. The 55 to 200 is where it's at for telephoto. It's amazing. And keep in mind, the 50 to 140, you're compromising a little bit of zoom range. This goes all the way to 200. The 50 to 140 stops at 140, so you don't get the full zoom range there either. So yeah, this one's amazing. If you guys have any questions about it, or want to make any other comments or recommendations to people, as always, just leave them in the comments below. And thank you guys for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. If you would like to stay up to date on all of my latest photography videos and adventures, click the big subscribe button below. And if you would like to find out more about me and how to become a great photographer, visit my website at findingmiddleearth.com.